the center of everywhere. It's Beneath the Surface with Sean Murphy and Corey Cooper.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Beneath the Surface. And I'm Sean Murphy. We do not have Corey Cooper today, who I usually use as my leader. He controls the podcast, but he's let me out of the house. And I'm traveling around with my partner Tyler Trent, our video guy, and we're running around Florida shooting ambassadors and getting new video and photo content. And today I am in Key West, or Sugarloaf Key, right near Key West, with our good friends Scott and Lindsey Brown and kids. Hello.
Hello.
What's happening?
Oh, it's gravy, baby.
And we're coming off of a small high because we just drank cold brew from Baby's Coffee.
I'm not gonna lie, my heart is like...
You're racing?
It's not really racing,
not.
but it's a little bit too much caffeine.
It's been an emotional roller coaster because Scott missed a big tarpon out on the water today, and it exploded right near the boat, and we all freaked out, and I literally was having heart palpitations. Lindsey was freaking out. Tyler fell off the boat, and the kids were screaming. It was insane. Yeah. Disconnect. What do you call that thing?
The speed shackle.
Speed shackle. I was
Release
like,
the speed shackle.
I feel like my dad, who's ex-lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, was screaming at me again and brought back a flood of emotions.
You don't have PTSD, do you?
I do.
A little bit.
From my dad. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he was gnarly.
No, it's hectic out there. No, it was crazy.
So
Absolutely crazy.
to tag on a little bit to that, you tell us a little bit about yourself, Scott. You're a SF guy, right?
So I'm an active duty Green Beret.
Mm-hmm.
I did 8 years at 7th Group Special Forces, and I was up for some instructor time just to be closer to my family. And so I took a job down here in Key West at the Special Forces Combat Dive School, and so that way we can be with family and ultimately be able to get out on the water together. Just because when you're on an A team in your Special Forces group, you don't really have a lot of time per se to execute hobbies. And so usually the guys that have families, when they do have free time, is spent with family, right? And so whenever we spend time together, we try to get out on the water. And if we go take trips and we're not near water, we're usually in the woods. And so we just want to get our kids into the outdoors because that's the way that we were raised. And I think it's very important for today's youth to be able to experience that, because ultimately they're going to become stewards and custodians of our natural resources. So it's better to start them early, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I noticed yesterday is your son, Grayton, knowing how to, bait his own hook, pull, he just does things a little more, I feel he's a little advanced for his age, and honestly, I think it was like that when I was a kid. They're not subjected to it. And your daughter was scared of a drone, and I was like, wait, you know what? That's a drone, right? And she was freaking out like it was some kind of spaceship, and I was like, that's kind of cool.
It's like a caveman, sees an airplane. You're just like,
little cave people.
I mean, we've never seen her do that, but it was like straight fear.
Yeah.
I mean, she was running.
Funny.
Yeah. It was like a seagull attacking her.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so you work enough during the week at your real job, and then you're also a captain on the weekends.
So yeah, I wouldn't really call it a job. I'm an inshore light tackle guide, and that's therapeutic for me. Part of being a Green Beret is mentoring and develop host nation special operations soldiers, and so kind of flows into it, and I get the same concept out of being a inshore fishing guide, and that's not just bringing out people to catch fish, but kind of teaching, mentoring, and develop them as an angler. And so it rolls into that, and you get the same thing whenever you have kids when they're out on your boat. You do the same thing subtly, obviously. You don't want to shove fishing down their throats, but you kind of have I have the same mindset as far as the mentor and development of, or the mentorship and development of anglers ultimately. And so, but the guide piece is how I feel that. But.
Yeah, I noticed that this morning. You have a nice way of, instead of just saying don't do that or do it this way, you presented Grayton this morning with like, would you look at kind of what you just did, what needs to be changed about that? And I watched him assess that he left something, a latch open,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then he figured it out. And I thought, man, that's really cool. That over time, he's going to be super well-rounded human. And I
absolutely.
thought that was neat. Tell us a little bit about your other event. I mean, you have so many things.
So
Oh,
many.
I've got my hands in everything. So besides being active duty Army, besides being a weekend guide, we started this thing 2 years ago called Hooked on Family, and we accidentally had a viral video of Grayton casting into the mangroves with precision.
Yeah, just a
and
perfect little pitch
accuracy.
right under the
Right
under the mangroves.
He looked like he was in the Bassmaster Classic up there on the front of that bow. But anyway, so that blew up on Instagram, and everyone started hitting us up like, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? And we're sitting here thinking to ourselves like, I mean, he's just a product of his environment. We didn't really teach him how to do it. He just had been watching Lindsey and I go out there together since, I mean, we were taking him on the boat since he was like a month old.
No, he was like probably 4 or 5
months.
Yeah, Chandler was closer to 2 months.
Chandler's 2 months. So yeah, you're a product of your environment at the end of the day. And so I saw that there was a gap in information for other people. And I also found out that there was a lot of risk adverseness amongst other parents about getting their kids close to the water or subjected to some type of outdoor activity. And that was pretty foreign to us, but the knowledge gap wasn't there. Or excuse me, the knowledge wasn't there. And so we filled that gap with creating a YouTube channel, which we really don't have time for. But ultimately, we started providing information through social media accounts and through YouTube, but we could never bring it to fruition because of the timepiece. And so how we brought Hooked on Family to fruition is through the nonprofit that I just started called Valiant Traditions. And its sole mission is to find, transport, lodge, and cater with a fully guided fishing or hunting experience to Purple Heart recipients, Gold Star family members, and not to insult your intelligence, but a Gold Star family member is a spouse who lost usually their husband in combat. And so
yeah, it can also be like a brother, right?
I believe
Brother,
it could be.
parent.
I'm not really sure on the technicalities of it as
I
of
think
right
it
now.
encompasses
But
all of family.
but
But
there's
typically it is a wife.
it's typically a wife and kids. And there's not, I don't really know that many women who know how to fish or hunt as a whole. You know, there's ones and twos here and there, but those are the people that we really want to reach out to, get them down here or a location close to them, and be able to get them and their kids out on the water and just show them a good time. Because what's happening right now, and this is just for my community and the special operations community, is we're coming out of the war right now, the global war on terror, and we're coming into kind of like a level, I wouldn't call it a peacetime, but we have more time at home now with family. And either a lot of these guys who have never had hobbies or are trying to break free of just making their work their life, we're trying to introduce hunting and fishing to them, giving them that knowledge, giving them the opportunity, because you don't know what you don't know. If you don't know that the venue is there or that the activity is there, how would you go forth and execute it? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's what Valiant Traditions is. It's finding, lodging, guiding, catering, Purple Heart recipients, Gold Star family members, and SOF operators in need, since I come from that community.
How does that work? Like, how explain to me, like,
So-
say I get in contact with you, and then how does that, are there a lot of people that are in this?
So there is, but it's hard to find. Right now, I have a good friend of mine. He works for the CARE Coalition, and he deals with all of the service members in the southern part of the United States, and he helps vet these people, make sure they are who they say they are. And I myself have many peers and friends that are Purple Heart recipients, and we know quite a few Gold Star families. And so whenever I have time in my schedule, which usually lines up to like block leaves or a weekend here or there, or if these people are passing through Key West, I'll reach out to them personally. Or my friends will be like, hey, by the way, so-and-so is coming through. Like, do you mind if you take them out or something like that? But that's how the operation works as of right now. What we're running into is just finding time to do fundraisers, campaigns, and generating capital for Valiant Traditions to actually do the actual thing.
Yep.
And so it's hard, obviously, because I'm still active duty, and it's hard to get out there. But I've had good friends helping me out right now, some really good businesses. And so we're making progress slowly but surely. But the more people, quality people, that we meet, I feel like that's more important as far as building infrastructure for the 501c3.
And how do people? Okay, so before we go any further, how do people see your family on, say, YouTube and Instagram, and then how will people get in touch with you regarding, your Gold Star?
So Valiant Traditions,
Valiant Tradition, yeah.
It has, it's obviously a 501c3. It has its own website, valianttraditions.org, and then I created an Instagram account for it and a Facebook page as well. And so we're slowly building more infrastructure online so that people can find it more readily, so the information is more readily available. Hooked on Family, that is an Instagram account, a website that has more information on there, like blog posts and pictures and tutorials for new parents coming into the angling game, or parents that just want to find out about the outdoors.
And I think I was excited. And so the way that I came here to be here is our lady that works at BOTE, Sky Bailey, who's spear diver and free diver.
Phenomenal free diver. Yeah.
She, we had a gap. We had a gap, and we're like, where can we go? And she's like, oh my God, you got to go see this family. And so I was immediately researching and drawn to.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 3 kids. I raised them very similar, but most people don't. And I think just being ignorant of something as simple as how would you teach a kid how to, do any of it really? Is it safe to do this? Can they go on that? Do they need to wear a life jacket? How do they bait a rod? Where do you go? All those things. And so, man, I just think it's going to go bananas. I think it's such a great idea.
Yeah, it's been a slow growth. Obviously, we don't want anything to move too fast because I'm so caught up with Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
But hopefully it does go somewhere because it's genuine, it's good information, and it's going to help bridge the learning curve or that learning gap that we talked about for a lot of people. And ultimately, it's going to bring enjoyment to the actual sport because you can't take your kids out sight fishing for bonefish, tarpon, and permit and expect them to have a good time. It's 55 minutes of looking and 5 minutes of chaos, and so there's a lot of downtime in between that. And as you saw, and as your kids are going to be like, Dad, Mom, and it's only been...
They start freaking out, they get emotional. That happens.
Freaking drones flying down, tarpon blowing out of the water.
It is what it is. And so yesterday, we came in late yesterday afternoon, and I knew already just based on a couple of phone calls with you that you were on point. All your shit was ready. You're ready to roll. What's the objective? I was like, okay, I can talk this language. I knew shit was about to go down. So you already had the tides were lined up. Your family was ready. We pulled in. There was no time. I was inflating we brought you some new boards. I was inflating a rackham in the back of the van while Tyler was trying not to
just
rack.
Hitting the gas.
And so I was like, oh shit, man, I better get this guy means business. We better get our shit. We better not show up like, oh, now I got to do all this stuff. I just be ready.
Yep.
So we pulled in, your boat was already on the truck, ready to rip, and you took us to, which I think was and I've been all over, it is as cool of a place as anywhere in the world you could go with nobody on it. Sandbar. It looked like New Caledonia or somewhere in the South Pacific, who knows.
Yeah.
And so we brought the Dock 7, which is a platform, a couple new inflatables, some chairs, kind of talk about that and how, just in a general way, what do you think about taking your family out to these places, and how do these products, how do they work with your family? Are they good? Do you enjoy them? Do they play fishing?
So, the amount we brought, very minimal, if you want to call them vessels, inflatable vessels. I think we brought a total of 2. We brought 2 chairs, a dock, which served as a multi-medium for jumping.
Yeah.
I mean,
infinite amounts of fun.
so much room for activities.
Yeah,
You know,
Swimming and
so
then
much
jumping
room.
on it.
Yeah, and you had the electric pump on your boat with
And
a
that
cigarette
was
lighter.
that
Yeah.
was so important, you know.
Yeah.
And so by bringing all that, number one, by being compact, you can have a small skiff like we have. I mean, we loaded that.
What kind of boat
down.
do you have, by the way, just so people can get an idea?
That's a Maverick 18 HPXV, and it's about as big of a technical poling skiff that I would want to have. The reason why I say that is as far as balancing, being able to draft in shallow water, and at the same time, getting my family of 4 out there to be able to do that. And so even with the amount of weight that we had, think about
2 dudes, a bunch of Pelican cases.
I mean, we maxed the weight limit on that boat. Think about some of that water that we went through. And so it was important to have that boat where we live. The other thing is it holds the weight capacity and still performs. But the best part was the boat products that we brought. They're compact, and you're able to remove the air out, fold them up, and get them out of the way. And I mean,
You don't have to worry about like a hard
Absolutely.
anything banging on the side of the
2
boat.
2 inflatable chairs
Yeah,
in
they
the
fit in
front,
the
all the
front.
kids,
Yeah.
you know, it was cool.
that's a lot of stuff.
Us.
But
Yeah.
the best part was once we got out there, I mean, when those kids saw that, number one, when they see the sandbar, I mean, those kids light up. They know it's endless freedom to roam, mess with seashells, jump in the water,
Free for
throw
all.
sand on each other, just be a kid and have fun.
Yeah.
But once we introduced the boat, the dock, that was a game changer. And then the paddle board, the inflatable Rackham, I mean,
Yeah, especially
Grayton.
for Grayton with the snorkel and the mask, being able to like.
You ride him
Paddle
around, he
around,
just has
yeah.
his face in the water.
you got to
Just
think
looking
about
around.
when you were a kid and being subjected to new environments.
We would
I
buy
mean,
the 75-cent styrofoam little surfboards from 7-Eleven. That was after church on
Absolutely.
Sunday, and we'd be in the water for 13 hours, so our skin was rotting off our face.
That's
And,
right.
I mean, if someone were to show me one of these things, I can only imagine.
Oh, absolutely. But it brings the adventure, and it fills that mysteriousness that you want in the outdoors. It keeps them coming back, and I think that's what a lot of the boat products do for kids. And so, because if you just go out there with a boat and with like just a regular boat, like a vessel,
BOAT.
exactly. And so
It definitely extended. Like normally
Oh,
we'll go to
yeah.
the sandbar and it's fun for a couple hours, but we could have stayed out there all day.
all day, like
And
I
then-
said, so much room for
And then
activities.
today, what I got most fired up about, if anyone knows me, knows I like to sneak in little mangrove tunnels and get all up in stuff. You were with Grayton fishing on the Rackham and kind of cruising the mangroves and catching snapper and almost catching some snook. And it was crazy. And it was like such a perfect, you could just stealthily sneak around, put
absolutely.
your sand spear
Yeah.
down.
So Grayton actually didn't even. We took that route and we went to that spot specifically because 1, we didn't have any sunlight to sight fish. 2, it was dead low tide, and I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? I've been here in the wintertime, and I've seen like a good amount of snook, and in the lower keys you don't really see that many, and it's because they hide majority of the time up in the mangroves. And so once we got the inflatable Rackham, I was like, you know what? We're going to be able to get back in those little pockets that we can't pull into with the Maverick, and we're going to try and get on those fish. And ultimately, there was about 20 snook tucked away in there in like 5 inches of water. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And so
Things that you
Grayton,
wouldn't get to see.
Grayton had never
Yeah.
seen that environment or that specific spot
Close up
from
like that.
close up from that paddleboard, and he didn't even know where we were, but we had fished it like 20 times before. And Grayton, I mean, he was like, Dad, look at all the snapper.
Yeah.
Look at the snook.
Yeah,
That's a snook,
yeah,
Dad.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
snook.
yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome. And like what was even cooler was seeing the behavior of those snook back up in the mangroves. They had never seen a human being before. And once we presented that bait, it was on it instantly. And I had never seen a snook interact like that. And it's because no one can get back in there
There's
on
no
that tide.
pressure.
But if you had that paddle board, you know, that inflatable, I mean, that was a game changer.
Yep.
So
Yeah, super awesome. I'm super happy to be here. And if anyone listening to this has kids and is just into the outdoor lifestyle, I strongly suggest you check these guys out. It's an inspiration. I really appreciate y'all hosting us and making it so enjoyable. I mean, it's been a day, but I feel like we've packed a week. Literally, like, to this morning, Tyler and I woke up at like 6 this morning, and we were like, dude, like, we kind of did like a day or and a half worth of work last night in 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's just pointing it's overload.
Well,
sensory overload.
You know what I think it was? I think all of our personalities meshed well. It was natural. I mean, you're energetic. I'm super energetic, and I just want to get out there and bring everyone together and have fun.
Yeah, that's what Sky said. She goes, "You guys, energy levels together, you know."
Yeah. Forces
Absolutely.
combined.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I surely appreciate you guys, and I can't wait
thank
to
you.
come back again.
Yeah.
And you're from Destin, so
Yeah.
you're gonna eventually move back,
Yeah. We'll
hopefully,
eventually
and
be back
you'll be
up
back,
there.
so we'll see you up
Yeah.
there.
Absolutely.
Right on. Well,
Yeah.
thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of Beneath the Surface, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.